It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. In the movie Training Day, the fictional character, Detective Alonzo Harris, played by Denzel Washington, tells rookie cop Jake Hoyt, played by Ethan Hawke, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. The Bible verse prove all things from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 21 say, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. This passage encourages discernment, critical thinking, and testing things to ensure that what is being followed or believed is truly good or true. It promotes evaluation before fully accepting something, whether it be an idea, teaching, or action. First Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 21. Prove all things, hold fast that which is good.
Fighting for the empire from Rome to Spain and Portugal. Throughout history, Israelites have served in various military roles for different empires, often as mercenaries or soldiers, sometimes under duress, other times out of necessity or opportunity. During the Roman Empire, Jews were often involved in military conflicts. Jews served as soldiers in the Roman legions. During the reign of the Spanish and Portuguese empires, Israelites were part of the military or administrative systems in these empires. Many Israelites were also involved in trade and navigation, playing key roles in the empire's maritime ventures. Universal Center for Renovation presents historical and biblical Israelites. This video is strictly for educational purposes and commentary. And this video is of biblical and secular historical literature, so enjoy.
The Age of Exploration. The Portuguese Age of Exploration. The Portuguese Age of Exploration, also known as the Age of Discovery, was a period during the 15th and 16th centuries when Portugal became one of the leading maritime powers in the world. This era was marked by the exploration of new trade routes, the discovery of new lands, and the establishment of overseas colonies. The motivations for these explorations were driven by the pursuit of wealth, the spread of Christianity, and the desire to expand Portuguese influence globally. Here are some key points about the Portuguese Age of Exploration. Religious zeal. The Portuguese were motivated by a desire to spread Christianity, particularly after the Reconquista, the reclaiming of Iberian land from Muslims. The Age of Exploration offered an opportunity to bring Christianity to new lands. Also, political power. Portugal sought to expand its influence, especially as rival powers like Spain also began looking to explore new territories. The Spanish Empire sought to emulate the Roman Empire. Yes, the Spanish Empire, like many other European empires throughout history, sought to emulate the Roman Empire in several ways. The Roman Empire, with its vast territorial holdings, sophisticated political structure, military power, and cultural influence, served as a model for subsequent empires, including Spain. Here's how the Spanish Empire sought to replicate and draw inspiration from the Roman Empire. 1. Territorial expansion. The Romans were known for their ability to expand and integrate vast territories, creating an empire that spanned three continents: Europe, Africa, and Asia. In a similar vein, the Spanish Empire sought to build a vast global empire, particularly after the Age of Discovery in the late 15th and early 16th centuries. The Roman Empire was one of the most powerful and influential civilizations in history, dominating large portions of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East for centuries. The Roman Empire, which existed between 27 BCE and 476 CE. The Emperor Augusta, who ruled from 27 BCE to 14th CE, this is the first emperor. Augusta brought an end to the Roman Republic and established the Roman Empire. He introduced reforms that stabilized the empire. After years of civil war, Pax Romana, or the Roman peace, existed from the time of 27 BC to 180 AD. And this was a period of relative peace and stability throughout the empire, often referred to as the Roman peace, which allowed for economic prosperity and cultural growth. The empire reached its greatest territorial extent under Emperor Trajan in the 2nd century AD, stretching from the British Isles in the west to Mesopotamia in the east. Several factors led to the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. One was the crisis of the 3rd century, which lasted from 235 AD to 284 AD. This was a period of instability with frequent changes in leadership and also external invasions and economic troubles. Emperor Diocletian and Constantine divided the empire into the Western and Eastern Roman empires to make it more manageable. Constantine later established Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, as the new capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. But the fall of the Western Roman Empire occurred in the year 476 AD. The Western Roman Empire faced increasing invasion by barbarian groups like the Visigoths and the Vandals. The last Roman emperor, Romulus
Augustus was deposed in the year 476. The legacy of the Roman Empire, or what the Roman Empire contributed to modern day societies and civilizations and nations, was its cultural influence. The Roman law, architecture, engineering, and language have had a lasting influence on Western civilization. Latin, the language of the Romans, evolved into the Romance languages, Spanish, French, Italian, etc. Also, the Roman Catholic Church, Christianity, which became the official religion of the Roman Empire in the 4th century, went on to play a major role in the development of the Roman Catholic Church. The Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, while the Western Roman Empire fell, the Eastern Roman Empire, or the Byzantine Empire, continued for nearly 1,000 years until the fall of Constantinople in 1453. Also to be noted was that Spain was a part of the Roman Empire. During the period of Roman expansion, the region known today as Spain was incorporated into the empire and became a key province in Roman Iberia, the Iberian Peninsula, which includes Spain and Portugal. The Spanish Empire was one of the largest and most influential empires in world history, spanning over several centuries and controlling vast territories across the Americas, Europe, Africa, and Asia. And Spain was part of the Roman Empire. In the book of Daniel, particularly in Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7, the Roman Empire is the 4th kingdom out of 4 kingdoms that would rule the earth until the establishment of the kingdom of the Most High on earth. In Daniel chapter 2, King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, has a dream of a great statue made of different materials. The interpretation of the dream given to Daniel by the Most High reveals that the statue represents 4 successive kingdoms. The first kingdom is represented by a head of gold. This represents Babylon, the kingdom of King Nebuchadnezzar. The second kingdom is represented by a chest and arms of silver. This represents the Medo-Persian Empire, which succeeded Babylon. The third kingdom is represented by belly and thighs of bronze. This represents the Greek Empire, led by Alexander the Great, which conquered the Medo-Persian Empire. The fourth kingdom, represented by legs of iron. This represents the Roman Empire, which was known for its strength and extensive reach. The Roman Empire succeeded the Greek Empire. The symbol that Rome used on its flag was the eagle. Rome was often viewed with a mix of fear, disdain, and criticism, particularly by those who were subjected to its rule or opposed its dominance. The perception of Rome as an evil empire is seen in both the context of religious and historical perspectives, especially in the Israelite and Christian tradition, and among the various conquered peoples. The persecution of the Christians. One of the main reasons Rome was seen as an evil empire by early Christians was its brutal persecutions of Christians. From the reign of Emperor Nero, 54 to 68 AD, onward, Christians were subjected to violent and systematic persecution. They were blamed for the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD, and many were executed in gruesome ways, such as being thrown to lions in the Colosseum or burned alive. Rome destroyed Jerusalem, the capital city of the Jews, and played a central role in the scattering of the Judean people, which is one of the most significant events in the history of the Jews. This happened in two major phases. One, during the First Jewish-Roman War, 66 to 73 AD, and the Bar Kokhba Revolution, 132 to 136 AD. Rome was a symbol of corruption and sin. In biblical literature, especially in the book of Revelation, Rome is symbolized as the beast, or Babylon, representing a corrupt, oppressive, and immoral empire. Revelation 17 and 18 speaks of the fall of Babylon, which was often understood to symbolize Rome, describing it as a city of sin, debauchery, and destruction. Rome's economy and society were built in large part on slavery. The exploitation of slaves and the brutal treatment of conquered peoples contributed to Rome's reputation as a ruthless empire. The gladiatorial games, in which slaves were forced to fight to the death for public entertainment, also reinforced this image. The Spanish Empire. Yet, despite this bad reputation that Rome had, many nations viewed Rome as a model for their government and their policies. King Ferdinand II of Aragon and Queen Isabella I of Castile did use the eagle as part of their royal symbolism, specifically the imperial eagle or double-headed eagle, which became a symbol associated with their reign. The Spanish Empire was one of the largest and most powerful empires in history, spanning across several continents and lasting for several centuries. Its influence on world history, culture, religion, and politics is still felt today. The Spanish Empire can be seen as inheriting certain elements from Rome, especially in terms of governance, culture, and military organization. While the Roman Empire's collapse in the 5th century AD marked the end of Roman imperial power in Europe, many of its ideas and practices were carried forward by later empires, including the Spanish Empire. One of the most significant legacies of the Roman Empire that influenced the Spanish Empire was Roman law. Many of the legal framework and concepts used in medieval and early modern Europe, including those in Spain, were derived from Roman legal principles. The Spanish Empire adopted Roman legal practices in its administration, especially in the way it governed its colonies. The idea of an empire itself as a vast political entity that rules over diverse peoples and lands were inherited from the Roman Empire. The Spanish monarchy, particularly under the Habsburgs and later the Bourbons, saw itself as an heir to the idea of a universal empire, much like Rome. The title of Emperor of the Romans was used by the Holy Roman emperors, who sought to maintain the imperial legacy after the fall of Rome. In the Spanish monarchy, especially under Charles V, Holy Roman Empire or Emperor, aspired to similar goals. Roman military traditions were imitated by the Spanish Empire's military organization. Tactics and structure drew some inspirations from Roman models. The Spanish conquistadors who traveled to the Americas often displays military discipline, organization, and a belief in the Roman-inspired mission to civilize and conquer the lands they encountered. The conquest of the Americas involved the use of highly organized military campaigns, similar to those of ancient Roman legions. Like the Romans, the Spanish Empire was built through military conquest and colonization. The Spanish sought to expand their dominion over vast areas of the New World, just as Rome expanded its territories across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. The use of forts, military colonies, and infrastructure to control and maintain territories mirrored Roman methods of imperial control. The Portuguese Empire sought to emulate the Roman Empire also. Yes, similar to the Spanish Empire, the Portuguese Empire also sought to emulate the Roman Empire in certain ways, although their approach to empire building was distinct due to their different historical and geopolitical circumstances. Here's how the Portuguese Empire looked to the Roman Empire as a model and how they mirrored some of its features. This image is from the book The Portuguese in the Age of Discovery, 1340 to 1665. The Portuguese Empire, territorial expansion, and global reach. Using Rome as an example, the Roman Empire was known for its vast territorial expansion, spanning 3 continents: Europe, Asia, and Africa. Rome's conquests were driven by both military conquest and integration of various peoples into the empire, creating a sense of unity under Roman rule. The Portuguese Empire aimed to establish a similarly vast global presence, albeit with a different focus. Instead of large continental conquests, Portugal established a network of colonies and trading posts across Africa, Asia, and South America. The Portuguese were particularly focused on establishing strategic naval routes and controlling key maritime checkpoints, such as the Straits of Hormuz, the Malacca Strait, and the Cape of Good Hope, much as the Romans controlled vital trade routes in their empire. Portugal had significant seaports and colonies in both Angola and Brazil. which were central to its empire, particularly during the age of exploration and the colonial period. The expansion of the Portuguese Empire. In Africa, Portugal established a series of trading posts and colonies along the West African coast, including in modern-day Angola, Mozambique, and Guinea. The Portuguese played a central role in the transatlantic slave trade. The Portuguese also had colonies in Brazil. In addition to their holdings in Africa and Asia, Portugal claimed Brazil in the early 1500s. This became one of Portugal's most valuable colonies, especially after the cultivation of sugar and later coffee. Cultural integration and spread of the Portuguese Empire using Rome as a model. The Roman Empire example. The Romans were known for their ability to Romanize the territories they conquered, spreading Roman law, culture, language, and infrastructure. This integration helped unify the vast territories under Roman rule. The Portuguese emulated the Roman Empire. Like the Romans, the Portuguese Empire sought to integrate and convert the peoples they encountered. Portuguese missionaries played a significant role in spreading Christianity. Much like the Roman Empire, who also promoted its version of religion and cultural practices. The Portuguese not only spread their faith, but also their language, culture, and customs, particularly in areas like Brazil, Angola, Mozambique, and parts of India and Southeast Asia. In some areas, particularly Brazil, the Portuguese used their language as a tool of cultural and administrative unity, much like the Romans used Latin. Jews were part of the Roman armies, though their participation in the military was a complex and evolving process over time. Israelites were serving in the Roman Empire on the Rhine River in Germany and in Britain. Jews were often labeled as Syrians when they served in the Roman armies. The Moorish cavalry under Lucius Quietus refers to a group of soldiers from North Africa who served in the Roman army during the 1st and early 2nd centuries, particularly under the command of Lucius Quietus, a Roman general of Moorish origin. The Israelites were living in North Africa. North Africa was named after a son of Ham, Put, and renamed by the Greeks Libya. In the book of Acts, North Africa was a place that Jews were known to live. The book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 10. And in the parts of Libya about Cyrene, this is where Jews lived in North Africa. The people of Put, or Libya of North Africa, that region held many colonies of Jews. Septimius Severus was a North African Roman emperor who reigned from 193 to 211 AD. He is one of the most notable emperors in Roman history, particularly for his military reforms, his effort to secure the empire's borders, and his establishment of the Severian dynasty. Septimius Severus was born in Nyptis Magna, modern-day Libya, a major city in the Roman province of Africa Proconsularis in North Africa. He came from a Punic-speaking Berber family of Roman citizenship, which meant he was part of the local elite in the North African provinces. Septimius was an Israelite who lived among the Berbers. Just like Hannibal Barca, who lived 247 to 183 or 181 BC, was one of the greatest military commanders in history, known for his leadership during the Second Punic War around 218 to 201 BC between the Roman Republic and the Carthaginian Empire. His tactics, particularly his bold crossing of the Alps with elephants, are legendary, and his military campaigns posed a major threat to Rome. In the book, The Jews, Story of a People, written by Howard Fast, this is a quote from that book. Now, how much of the Phoenician nobility was Jewish? We do not know. But David Ben-Gurion, I have heard, holds that Jewish influence was great, and that very likely Hannibal and his family were Jewish. End of quote. David Ben-Gurion was the primary national founder and first prime minister of the state of Israel. So this comment is rather interesting. So Hannibal was a member of the prominent Barca family. Barca is Hebrew for lightning or thunderbolt, symbolizing speed and power. Very fitting for a family known for its military leadership. Barca is from Barak, which means lightning in Hebrew, and is found in the Bible, specifically as the name of a biblical figure, Barak, who was a military leader in the book of Judges. Just like Jews could be found in the Roman Empire, from Britain, Germany, to North Africa in the Old World, Israelites could also be found in the New World, the Americas. From the book The Portuguese and the Age of Discovery, 1340 to 1665, this is an image of three men, three Israelites. Starting from the left, a Brazilian Tupinamba chief and indigenous Indian of Brazil. The second person is a Brazilian nobleman. Some Portuguese were of Israelite descent. The Brazilian nobleman has a similar phenotype to the last man, who is a African Brazilian retainer. Brazil in the 16th century. The figure to the left is a Brazilian Tupinamba chief. The man in the center is a Brazilian Portuguese nobleman around 1550. The last man to the right is a African or Afro-Brazilian retainer from around the period of 1580. Afro-Brazilian individuals, those who held positions of service, often in the context of social or economic hierarchies, particularly during the colonial and imperial periods of Brazil's history. This would typically describe Afro-Brazilian servants or retainers who worked in various capacities, especially in wealthy households, or in support of the elites of Brazilian society. This man was a soldier. Afro-Brazilian slavery took place from 1500 to 1888. Slavery was a major institution in Brazil, beginning shortly after the Portuguese colonization in the 16th century. Brazil became the largest importer of enslaved, so-called Africans in the Americas, and the majority of enslaved people were of West and Central African descent, or so-called African descent. It's important to note that not all Afro-Brazilian individuals were in subservient roles. Over some time, some Afro-Brazilian people gained status and wealth, often through the emancipation of slaves or the ability to work in skilled professions such as craftsmanship, trade, and in some cases, even owning land. However, the elite society in Brazil constituted or continued to be primarily Eurocentric, and full integration of Afro-Brazilians into the upper class circles were extremely difficult. These Afro-Brazilians are linked to the kingdoms of West and Central Africa, whose citizens have been described as Black Jews. Many of these Jews were converted to Roman Catholicism before they became enslaved and transported to the Americas. Some were made Knights Templars and were incorporated into the Portuguese Empire. Their knowledge of the interworkings of Portuguese and European societies, with their skills and wisdom, was a primary reason European empires were able to take root in the Americas and globally. Historically, they were known as Latinos or Romanized or Latinized blacks, Black Latinos. Born in the Americas were negroes, Creoles, or Creoles of color. These are just one of the type of Jews from West and Central Africa. The legacy of the Portuguese Empire, who emulated the Roman Empire. The Portuguese age of exploration reshaped the world, establishing the foundation for the modern global economy and influencing trade routes, colonialism, and the exchange of cultures and ideas. Portugal's maritime prowess left a lasting imprint on the world, especially in terms of navigation and map making. The Portuguese language is spoken today in several countries, including Brazil, Angola, Mozambique, and parts of Africa and Asia as a result of their empire's reach.